Welcome everyone to another crypto market update. And we have closed September and pretty much we have only 3 months in 2023. It's almost over and we've had so much action, so many things happened in crypto this year that for me, it's hard to believe, honestly, that we have just 3 months left. And even more importantly, in my opinion, we are that much closer to the halving of Bitcoin, which is scheduled somewhere for May, if I remember correctly, next year. So it's going to be a very interesting few months until the end of the year. And honestly, even the next couple of weeks, I think will be very interesting. I'm personally very excited for a couple of reasons. I'm going to share both of them just a little bit later. But let's look at some price charts and let's start with Bitcoin's weekly chart because this is pretty much the one to watch right now together with the daily. And we are at quite an interesting level. Let's just do a quick overview. So pretty much a few weeks ago, we bounced off this level here around 25K, which was playing as support at a time. We had a failed breakdown. And if you remember correctly, I was talking about this back then. And I said, if we don't break down now, quite possibly we'll have a reversal here. And this is exactly what happened because we were coming off several weeks of red. We had a failed breakdown and then price rallied from the bottom to the highest point last week was around 13%. So quite a significant move for Bitcoin. And this was combined with a very weak stock market. And if we look at the S&P, pretty much the last several weeks we've been down only, and currently maybe there's some kind of reversal happening, or at least we're aiming for a lower high here. But as you can see, Bitcoin and crypto overall has been showing some relative strength. And now we are at a major level. And let's see why exactly is this. So first of all, just based on the price action, this level around 2728K, you can see there's been a lot of touches. So a few weeks ago, we got a touch. Here we had plenty of reactions. And also, if we take this range, from top to bottom, this is around the 50% retracement. So again, this is the 50% of the entire range here. So pretty obvious, support / resistance level in this case. We also, on top of this, we have the 200 weekly moving average, which historically has shown that it's significant on Bitcoin. And then if we jump on the daily, we also have both 100 and 200 moving averages, squeezing into this area. So all eyes are here for the coming days and weeks. And as you can see, we have already had a few touches. So one was right here. Then we had another failed breakout here. And then the last few days, every day pretty much, we've been touching this level. In my opinion, we're much closer to a breakout than another fake out. But it remains to be seen. We are still at resistance. We're still holding resistance. But as you can see, and as I've mentioned earlier this week, the moment we start breaking down of this bullish price structure, and I think it's pretty clear here, but here we go, we have higher highs and higher lows all the way from here, and now we're pretty much retracing, and now potentially we will have another attempt at breaking out in the coming week. I think this could coincide very well with a little bounce on stocks, and if this happens, I know that a lot of people are shorting here because it's kind of an obvious level, so obvious. And also the risk for a short here is pretty decent. We have, let's take this wick, for example, you have just 2.5%, 3% risk if you want to be flexible with your risk management. And to the bottom of this range here, it's like 9.5%. So pretty good risk to reward. And keep in mind that if we fail to break this level, I think quite possibly we're not only going to test 25K, but quite possibly we'll go a lot lower. So maybe in the 22, 21K area that we've been discussing previously as a major next level down if we get a leg down. So somewhere around here. And if we play the scenarios, obviously, for me, there are a couple. And the bearish one would be actually quite good, and that's why I'm very excited, because if we get a bearish one playing out, and if we get a failed breakout here, let's say, for example, something like this happens, which could probably be a very nice short too. So if we break out, we collect some stops here, because a lot of people are having stops here, and then we don't have a follow through day to the 31, 32K area. And then we kind of start falling apart, and then price retraces, and we get something like this. So this here will be a very clear indication that we're going lower, and potentially it will be time for me also to maybe reduce a little bit more my Bitcoin and Ethereum exposure, and even have a more cash than what I have right now. And currently I'm quite comfortable with the cash position that I have. And then I'll just be able to buy lower. And if we get this kind of a washout event that I'm personally hoping for, and we get lower prices, even 25, between 20 and 25K, anything, in my opinion, will be a great buying opportunity. If we get this, I'll be excited, because this will be probably one of the best prices that we'll get in the coming years. But if we don't get this, I'm also not gonna be mad, because from here to the top of the range, it's another 11-12%. And if we retest this top of the range another time, I think, especially with the structure that we're keeping, remember we were talking a few months ago that this needs to hold in order for the bullish price structure to hold, even on the weekly. And this has been the case. We haven't had really a lower low here. We're just having higher highs, and now we're trying to put even a higher low, or potentially a lower high. So that's why it's a very key area right here. And if you break out, and if we retest 31K, this again is a very clean and nice level to trade. And if we fail above it, that will be again a great indication that we will probably retest again this level of 28K, but then the structure will be completely different, because we will be in the top of this range. And in my opinion, that would be quite good for price. We could still get, way down from here, even from the top of the range. But if this happens, this will be the time to think about it. Right now, we have a bigger problem at our hands, and that is trying to break out of this area. So this is also the second thing why I'm really excited, because opportunity that, if we see an opportunity that this thing breaks out to the upside, again, this is very clean setup. If we have 32K breakout, potentially we might be heading out for a major bull market a little bit earlier. I'm honestly leaning towards more chop or another failed breakout here on this area, or potentially downside for different reasons. But if this happens again, I'm not going to be mad. So in this case, especially when the chart is so clean, in my opinion, there's plenty of opportunities to be excited, especially if you have plans ready, and if you have cash ready to deploy, and you're not overexposed to different altcoins and to other asset classes that might be underperforming right now. So that's the overview for the next coming months, I would say. And of course, anything can happen, and we'll evaluate if we even gonna get lower prices. We could pretty much chop around in this range forever and ever and ever, until we get some kind of a catalyst. But overall speaking, this chart doesn't look as bad as it used to a few weeks ago. If you have any questions, obviously you can post them in chat. We're going to look into some altcoins, and there's been some altcoins that are been quite overperforming over Bitcoin, which has been a surprise. Usually these rallies, especially with the narrative of a Bitcoin ETF, means that all the altcoins are getting smashed, but there's been quite a few that's been outperforming Bitcoin. Let's just look at a few of them, and then we're going to look into Ethereum and so on. So Maker's been one of them. I'm not sure yet if I trust this narrative. I looked into the fundamentals of Maker, and it seems like they've invested quite a lot of money into US securities, which currently are paying around 5%. And pretty much they have a very stable revenue from that, because they've invested like $1.5 billion into them. And seems like people are liking this. They like the distribution. There's been some kind of burns on the token with the buybacks from their profits, but in my opinion, not really significant. But as you can see here, this has been one of the most bullish charts out there in crypto. Clean range, very choppy, obviously, but once we got it going, it's been only higher highs, higher lows, pretty much. Very clean structure. Am I trading this? Not really, not at this stage, of course, because this has been already significantly up, even not from the bottom, but from here, it's like 120%. So, and we're still not clear if Bitcoin is going to break out or not. And this is still 130% up. I'm not really interested in buying it. And this is an OG coin, so it already had a cycle. I'm not really that interested into these coins. But you can see the strength here. And what I've been looking into is similar narratives to this one. So what others are playing into the real world assets, and especially securities. Sorry, not securities, but the bond market, the US Treasuries. And there's been one that's, it's a really relatively small cap coin, and in my opinion, not a great exchange diversification. It's called Canto, but as you can see here, it bounced right off this major support level, and it's been up only. And I think it's a sympathy play to Maker, but I haven't really done deeper research to see. But from what I understand, they're also playing into the securities game. And it seems like the market is liking it. Another stronger player was Link, also is quite overperforming. And, there's been a lot of speculation about Link. I know that this is the future of crypto, and it's pretty much the backbone of every DeFi project and so on. I've been looking into this as a range. It's probably one of the cleanest range just out there. On the weekly, it's somewhere around here at the top. I would say on the daily, it's even here, somewhere around $9.5. But you can see pretty clean range, and we've been ranging for a lot of time, pretty much over a year already. We had a failed big breakdown here, and now we are just climbing higher. Again, not something that I'm particularly interested at this point, but again, if we get to the extremes of this range, this could be, another 30% down, potentially if this holds, or we see a similar pattern where we get back into the range, or if we kind of break out to the upside, or we fail to break out, if a lot of people get trapped somewhere around here, again, this could be a very clean short setup. And another, project that's been performing quite well. Another one is XRP also. XRP last week had very interesting news. I think the court decided not to approve the appeal of the SEC or something like this. But as you can see, even without this, it's been keeping the structure. Although we had this massive pump on the case, and then obviously it broke down, and we are currently at a major resistance level. But again, very similar to Bitcoin, we're testing this quite a lot of times. If you go down to the daily, you see that there's been a lot of touches, and it's been keeping the structure. So for me, if this breaks out, could be an interesting play as an OG token that people like in general, and they have like a very strong community and so on. So this could be a very interesting trade. Again, it depends where this sets up, but somewhere around here to the pivot low is 10%. Here is like 14%. So maybe it wouldn't be a great trade. Gotta see how this will play out, but one that's been showing relative strength in the past several weeks. Another one is Rune. Rune is in a correction mode right now. Again, a smaller token, an old token that has already had quite a cycle, as you can see, but now it's been overperforming, and now you can see that it's back within the range. And this is again a very, very good, I would say, bearish setup if you're into this. If we get maybe a bit of a retracement here, and then maybe we aim for the lower parts, depending obviously on what Bitcoin does and what is happening in general on the overall markets. And yeah, let's look at Ethereum, although it's been quite choppy, and that's why I didn't want to talk about it that much. It's been very choppy, and I thought this level around 1600, it's going to hold and it's going to be significant, but now it's been pretty much a chop fest. And even if we just remove all the drawings, where do you set up your risk here? The cleanest levels that I see on this chart are probably around here, so around 1400. This was also previous all-time high. And I can pretty much delete this, And then the other extreme is around 2K, where it's really clean. Price has been trading very clean here in this area, and you can see it. So pretty much we're mid-range here. We're chopping. I'm not that interested into Ethereum right now to buy any. I do have a spot back. I wouldn't be left hanging if we run from here. But again, if you look at the ETH BTC chart, it hasn't been looking very sexy. It continues to bleed out. If we jump on the weekly, it's a little bit better. We're still in this downtrend, and again, the next major level we might get into is somewhere around 0.05, or maybe if we touch this, diagonal line somewhere. It's because it might be somewhere here, might be in several months, but we might just get a capitulation. It will be actually a nice confluence if this happens somewhere in this area. We have a wick to this, retest this, then close back above it. That would be an interesting play, but this would mean that Bitcoin has a rip and then it has a cool off without a dump, and then altcoins start catching up. Another one that's I've been looking into but not really interested into buying is Lido. You can see this been really choppy and really kind of nothing burger for the past several months, but the total value locked on the system has been going up. People are still staking a lot of their Ethereum. We have kind of broken down of this level and we retested it, and now the downtrend continues. But this, if it gets stupidly cheap, maybe on a washout, I do want to have some exposure to the liquid staking. And I'm just putting it out there because it's starting to be at prices and at valuation that might be worth paying attention to. Maybe if we get blessed and if we have another 50% discount to the $1 level, I might be buying. But again, we need to see how we're going to get there. If we're going to have this, keep selling out like this and not have any major capitulation, I'm not sure I'm going to be buying. I will probably wait for a reversal to happen and then. But if we get some kind of a massive candle to the downside on the weekly, and just retest this level, and I think then that would be an interesting play because Lido obviously has the adoption, and I think in a potential bull run this could be very interesting. There are a couple of things I think that we need to talk about also, and we kind of need to mention that maybe a war is starting in Israel, and obviously these guys there have been fighting for years already. I don't know how the world will react, and we got to see tomorrow how the traditional markets will open. And in general, with such high interest rates, we don't know yet if we're gonna have a black swan. Maybe we won't. The jobs report last week was pretty good, so maybe we won't have a major recession. We're just gonna chop around here for a few weeks, and then maybe they start decreasing the interest rates or get some quantitative easing in other forms. It will be interesting to watch this, but just keep in mind that we are here in a bearish structure in the past several weeks on the S&P, and if this trend continues, crypto quite possibly will be still in for a lot of trouble in the coming months. But again, that's fine. The longer this continues, we talked about this from the beginning of the year pretty much, we want to see this chop fest. And I think this year has been better than what everybody expected. We are still up on the year a lot, and if this continues, we are up like 68% on the year, and we have only 3 months left. And if this trend continues, and if we chop around like here, a lot of people will get tired because pretty much, although we are up, we did most of the gains in the first period of the year. And here it's been just chop from, what is this? From March to October already. It's been like 6 months only chop. And maybe we get blessed with a capitulation, and then we can load up the backs for a potential bull run. We'll see. I'm honestly quite excited. I have to point out that I'm significantly down on most of my major altcoin positions. This is Magic. It's currently bouncing. I'm not yet interested in buying because, as you can see, it's been down only pretty much since we bought it, and it's still in a very bearish structure. Although this retested as support, I'm gonna wait and see here. Even if I add at 70 cents on the signs of strength, I'll still be able to lower my cost average down a little bit. But for now, again, I'm waiting for something extreme to happen. Maybe we get even lower, then maybe I'll add up a bit more. Same story with STG. STG is also one that's been bleeding out, as you can see in the past months. Very ugly close this week. As you can see, pretty much we engulfed the previous bullish candle, and it's been down only for several weeks already in a row. So it doesn't look too bright. But again, this is a smaller position for me, and this is for all the positions that I have except for Bitcoin and some Ethereum. These are really small positions. These are accumulation plays. They're not trades. I'm accepting the risk of going 50%, even 100% down on them. I'm averaging down because I don't know where the bottom will be, but I do like these projects fundamentally. And that's why I've been allowing myself to buy here and there a little bit. But now I'm just going to be patient with it and see what's going to happen. Maybe it will bounce from here, but again, I need to see some basing out. Another major one is GMX, same story. We're getting rejected here. So still bullish, still bearish structure. I was even considering to sell some of this and maybe potentially buy it lower. We'll see. I'll let you know, guys, if I decide to do this. And similar story also with Matic, because Matic, I started buying this because of the ZK narrative back then, and Matic was pretty good positioned. But now a lot of L2s like Arbitrum obviously has come out, but a lot of L2s like ZK Sync and potentially Starkware are coming out in the coming months, and that's even another reason to be excited. Maybe we'll get some airdrops and some new projects to look into. But yeah, this was my play back then to accumulate it. Now it's been bleeding out, and it's a major cap. It has had a cycle already, so I'm seriously considering moving all my Matic into something like maybe Arbitrum, because I do think that Arbitrum will outperform overall Matic, although the chart looks horrendous currently on Arbitrum, and it's been down only since it launched. Or maybe Optimism. Optimism hasn't been looking that bad. And again, it's an L2 play. I have to consider this, and I'll definitely let you know, guys, what I've decided to do. Another one that I've been currently monitoring and researching, and I'll be posting my research again because we did this in March. But again, there are some changes on Radiant Capital. You can see the chart here again, down only, but it's a very small market cap, this one, and I think it has pretty solid fundamentals. And I'm quite excited because this is a new project, hasn't had price history, so it ticks a lot of boxes for me. And once we see some price action that reverses here, I'll be able to buy it, with more confidence. Now I have a really, really small bag just for the layer 0 airdrop, and potentially I want to make this like a core position in my accumulation bags because I see quite a lot of potential. And probably there will be a lot of 10 and 100x projects that will launch in the coming 6 months to a year. That's what usually happens, and usually these tokens that are launched in this period. And I put in this graph also Radiant, because they launched but they haven't really sold off massively. It's not like Sui, for example. Sui has been brutal since they launched. It's been down only, but they've had quite a few capitulations, and price seems like it's bottoming out right now. But you can see that this chart looks quite a bit different to Radiant. And Sui, I'm not sure it has better fundamentals, to be honest with, compared to Radiant. So there will be a lot of projects that come up, and potentially they will be the next biggest winners of a bull market. And I've been putting out the work for the past several months, and I'm quite confident that at least some of these tokens that I like and I invest in will probably be worth keeping for a full bull run. And yeah, that's a lot of talking, and seems like you guys have no questions. So that will be everything for today. And obviously, if you need anything, or if you have any additional questions in the future, you know how to find me. See you guys.